G'day there guys, my name's Philip Wong and today I want to show you how to draw a logo using only PowerPoint. Now I whipped up this nice little logo here and it took me so quick that I was like, well, you know what, maybe I could make a quick little video on how I did it. There are certainly more professional programs out there such as Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator. I however find that although this is a very beautiful style here which I've been able to draw, PowerPoint is more than sufficient with the drawing tools it has already built in. So while you should have some idea of what you're actually going to draw, the simplicity of PowerPoint is quite attractive. You'll just need regular PowerPoint, no plugins. We're going to customize the ribbons so we can access some of those inbuilt hidden tools that are in PowerPoint. And of course, as I said, you're going to need some idea as to what are you aiming at drawing. I had a quick Google search for a school shield because in this particular case, I just wanted to draw a logo for some false university. It was basically a joke, but it looks pretty good. So let's go through a quick tutorial as to how I did that. As I said before, we're going to need to customize the ribbon. So in order to do that, you can see I've got for the video and Phillip's drawing tools, insert, delete, and all the other normal ribbon tools here. A couple of plugins such as EndNote and Acrobat, which you may not have. But how did I get this for the video and Phillip's drawing tools? Well, what you do is you right-click anywhere on the ribbon there, and you go customize the ribbon. You can actually add and delete main tabs on the video. This is how many people get the developer, and hit OK, and now you have a developer tab that wasn't there previously. Go back to customize, we'll get rid of developer. And the one for the video I was just practicing, so we'll delete that one as well. Remove, there we go, OK, and it's gone. So Phillip's customized tools. Well, there's a few of these ones that you really want, and they are combine, union, fragment, subtract, and intersect. I happen to use morph and the braces quite a lot, along with this rectangular style speech bubble, so you can add anything in that you want. So let's start a new one. Let's call this one, well, for the video, as I had before.
For the video.
You can call it special tools or drawing tools or something like that if you wish. Now you have a new group, and you can add in things which you may find helpful. There are a whole bunch of commands that are not in the ribbon. So these are all the things that are available. These are the things that are going to appear on your ribbon. Let's add in union, which I know was under U. Union shapes, add, there was split or something like that, send to back, that's pretty helpful. Nudge up, down, left, right, I find those ones somewhat helpful sometimes as well. Combine shapes, that's one of the ones which we wanted. Under all commands, there's all of the commands, and there's a lot of commands here which you can pick from, but we'll just do that for now. So you can see that we now have this new one called for the video. Now the ones which I said before which are useful are combine, union, fragment, subtract, and intersect. They're the ones that you're really going to need here. Even if you just had union and fragment, they're probably the most two important. So we've got ourselves some idea as to what we want. We want a shield design with some little writing underneath, and we want maybe a chevron or a sans de fleur. I've gone with a chevron for my design. So let's start off by drawing this neat little shield here. So the first thing you're going to need to do is have a look for something that looks vaguely like a shield, and I guess this is probably the closest that I could find. I'm going to draw that like this. I might actually also get myself some guides and rulers so I know that I'm straight. To do this, you just simply right click anywhere on the grey area and go to grids and guides. We want to be able to display the grid on the screen and display the guides on the screen. That's going to be quite helpful. We want to rotate this down so that it's a shield shape, something similar to this. Maybe we can pop it out a little bit bigger-ish. I'm going to hold down Alt and Control in order to make sure that we're controlling the sizes here. You'll notice that a shield isn't straight, it has this curve to it. So we're going to need a ruler to demonstrate where we should be. So I'm going to get a square, and I'm going to use this as a bit of a ruler. I'll make that yellow just so we can see what we're doing, and we might scroll in a little bit so it's a bit easier to see. First off, we'll put our ruler straight. Then I'm going to stretch it out using Control and Alt at the same time. About here-ish. Then I'll go to the blue shape and I'll go right-click, Edit Points. And I'm going to click on this point here, the black one here, and you can see that there's now the points around the corner. I'm going to make that a straight point. Click on this one and also make that a straight point. Now we've got this bendy curve here which doesn't look crash hot, but we'll put those straight points there. We might angle that down so it's a little bit less dramatic, I guess. We've got this vector that is very harsh, so we're going to point that vector up and down here. We'll click on the top right hand corner, shorten the vector and push that down there. It's misbehaving slightly. Straight, smooth point. That's probably better. That vector can go down there. It just really doesn't want to behave itself today. Let's try that. We'll just make it really short. That'll do the job. Alright, cool. And of course we've got a funny shape down the bottom as well, so we'll need to go Edit Points, go to this one here, and that vector can go up that way. And that'll give us a bit more of a shield shape. It's not quite perfect here. As you can see, it goes out a little bit. Bulges a little bit too much on the left hand side. It's not the end of the world though. Oops. Edit Points, click on this one, and we might just back that off a little bit so it's not too far out. Okay, cool. So now we've got a shield and it's roughly equal. It's not perfect, but again, this is PowerPoint. Next thing we want is a bit of a chevron that goes up here. So I'm going to get the Chevron Tool, which it's under block arrows, and just draw a chevron like that. I'm going to use a different color just so it's really obvious. I'm going to rotate it around, and then I'm going to move it so that it's in the center and roughly about where I want it. Maybe I could make it more or less pointed, depending on your style and taste, I suppose, about this. And now we're going to go to those magic drawing tools, and the more important one here is fragment. So you select both of the shapes and you hit fragment, or actually fragment. There we go, that's better. And now what you can see is we have 1, 2, 3 pieces of shield, which is quite convenient because now we can go and color them different shapes, and you can see that you can color each shape independently. I have just stuck with the standard Microsoft colors, even though they're pretty awful, to be honest with you, but I just want to quickly get this done and demonstrate to you what things can look like. We might pick a color like that, and orange. Whoops, I think I picked the inverse before, so I'll stay with the inverse. This is already looking okay. It's a little bit harsh. We probably want to have something over the top. You could have a straight one, or in this case you can see I've got a bit of a peak. We can do that. Let's have a go at doing that right now. What we'll do is we'll get a triangle, and we'll move the triangle into the center to start off with so it's square. We'll pop it up until the tips of the triangle are just covered by the edge. So then we'll grab this and the top of the shield. We'll go back to our favorite fragment tool again, and we're going to delete those edges. Then we're going to grab these 3 pieces here, and we're going to union those together. I now have a blue and a blue, so what I want to do is I want to copy paste the orange color up to the top. So to copy the formatting, I press Control-Shift-C and Control-Shift-V to paste the formatting there. I've decided that that's a little bit too pointy at the top, but that's okay. We can fix that too. What we need to do now is we need to sort of give a bit of a scallop out on either side. Whoopsie daisy. So what we can do is grab this. This is our tool here for circles. And we're going to rotate that one around until it's about here-ish, I guess. And we're going to grab another one and rotate that one around. We'll hold shift so it sticks to set degrees. And now both of these are peaking at the same point. Maybe we can make them slightly, yeah, that's even better, isn't it? Right, so if I do that, let's make these two transparent, actually, just so you can, it makes it a little bit easier to see what you're doing. You can right click these, hit Format Object, and then drag the transparency down. It makes it a lot easier to see what you're trying to draw. We're going to grab both of these two, and we're going to shift down with the arrow keys neatly. And then I'm going to grab this, this, and this, all of those three, and go back to my drawing tools and fragment. Okay, cool. So that means I can grab all of these, this, and hit delete, 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 don't need you, don't need you, don't need you. And we now have something that looks a lot more like a shield. Again, we want to copy the formatting, paste the formatting, and we have our nice little scalloped out shield. Fantastic. Now, I chose to put a book in there. How did I draw the book? Well, we'll grab our shield first, and we will group it by pressing Control G. Move the shield aside. We might even scale it down a little bit, so it's out the way. And we want a book. So we go down here and we go, what looks like a book? And unfortunately, there is a scroll, but that's not a book. So the best thing I can see here is actually the chevron again. So we'll borrow the chevron tool for a second time. And ultimately what we want to do is we want to stack several chevrons together until they look more or less like a book. Now, the first thing I want to do is sort of stretch that chevron down so it's a bit more book shaped. And then again, we're going to do the same thing when it comes to using a square as a ruler. So we'll grab a box shape like this, make sure it's in the center. I'm going to give this a different color so it's a little bit easier to see what I'm doing. Then what I will do is I will shift that down using Control and Shift, and so that the corner is touching the line here, the corner is touching the line here. Then what I do is I select both of the boxes, and I'm going to pop them up a little bit with the arrow keys, so they're moving together. Now, what we want to try and do is give this image of a page, so we need to bend the blue pages out to meet the corner of the squares, which we've been using as our guide. So we go to select the blue and then go into Edit Points. We're going to add a point about here, there we go. And we're going to just gently shift it up to there. Add a point here, gently shift it up to there. Add a point here, gently shift it up. Add a point there, gently shift it up. And of course, it's not exactly beautiful because it's not as straight as it could be, but I'll let you fiddle with this to make this as nice as you please. This one here is a little bit rough, actually, so I'm going to edit that because I feel that we can do a little bit better. Stretch that out a bit. Down a bit. It's not perfect. All right. This is PowerPoint, and the whole idea is for me to show you how to get the basic idea across. Now I'm going to grab the stretching, and I'm going to stretch it out slightly to the sideways like that to open the book. Then I'm going to hold down Control and Shift, and I'm going to make a new copy of the book on the inside, and I'm going to hold down Control and Alt to slightly shrink the book left and right. I'm going to do Control Shift up again, about the same size, and I'm going to go Control and Alt to shift it in ever so slightly, Control Shift to move it up again. We're going to do this, I think, 5 times, once final time here, and then in finally like that. Ultimately, we should have it such that there is a relatively straight line between the corner here and the final page. I'm not super happy with this because there's too much gap here in the bottom, so we'll just nudge everything down a little bit. Hold Shift always allows you, Shift is so helpful because it allows you to move things or translate them in a plane. There we go, so our pages are a bit closer together now. There we go. And it's not quite a 45-degree line, but you can see that these pages are more or less in line roughly. That's the important thing anyway. Now, if you were to zoom out, you can't really see a whole lot there. So in order to make this more stand out more, what we're going to do is we're going to grab the second and the fourth pages, and we're going to fill them in with a color. Let's go for white to keep it nice and simple. And for the blue pages, we're going to color those with white also. Now, so they stand out a little bit more, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an outline that isn't quite white. I will go to more outline colors. And I'm going to give it a slightly yellowish tone because pages often turn yellow through time. So I'm going to grab my RGB pointer here, and I'm going to point it towards the yellow. I'm going to put it round about here so there's a bit of yellow, and I'm going to slide that down so we've got a bit of a grey color here, and then I hit OK. So you can see that there is a very gentle tone edge to these to my book. It might also be that perhaps I've stretched these a little bit too much. Maybe they're a bit dramatic, so we'll stretch those out a bit, stretch those out a bit, stretch these out a bit, stretch, oops, make sure everything's centered, of course. Yeah, it's not too bad. Alright, so we've got our book now. Okay, we'll grab our book and we'll go Control G so that it's now in a group and we can treat it as a single entity. We'll put our shield back and we'll expand out, ooh, that went badly. We'll expand our shield out and we'll put our book back into the center. We will shift that down so it is about where we want it. It's not terrible. I'm not getting a whole lot of contrast between the shield and the book now. That looks a bit terrible for some reason. So I think maybe in the same way that when we did the book with the pages which were slightly grey color, what we'll do the same thing again with the shield, right? So we'll select the shield components and we'll go to shape outline, more colors, and I think maybe this time we need something that's a little bit more obvious. About here maybe. Maybe it needs to be bigger, so we'll up the weight a little bit. Oh, that's not terrible. Needs to be lighter though. Okay, so more outline colors, and we'll shift more white into that. Yeah, that's looking pretty good actually. I've got a problem here because this isn't quite center, so we'll put that center and put that one center. All right, that's looking more centered. All right, that's pretty good. Now we want to have a banner across there, and there is actually a nice little banner for which we can use here, and the banner is sort of a bit podgy, so we might shift that out, might play with the banner a bit so it looks not as terrible. Hold Control and Alt to shift it out that way. Something like that. Make sure it's centered. We can then type our university name because this is a, let's call it school logo. School logo. And we'll pump up the size there a little bit. Now, this looks a little bit podgy because, of course, Calibri is a very common font, so we don't want to use that. We can pick an appropriate font here. Oftentimes there'll be a corporate font to go with the entire school, but I'm going to pick something that has some sense of, no, definitely not. Come on, give me credibility. Give me a something that has credibility. Georgia Pro Black. I've got to download that one. Georgia Pro Black Condensed. Not terrible. What did I use here? Bernard MT. We'll use that one. Okay, we'll go with that. Bernard. There we go. That'll do. Let's call this important school logo, and we will stretch that out so that it fits appropriately. It's not terrible. All right, cool. So now we've got our logo, we've got our school shield, we've got our little banner there, which says whatever we need it to say. How did I get this grey background? Well, I'll tell you what, this grey background is just a square, which is really neat. So what we can do is we can grab a square, just draw a square, and I'm going to color that square in, we'll grab a dark color like this, and then we'll just basically go gradient fill. See, we're going gradient presets. Boom, that'll do. And then we'll just shift that all the way over to fill the slide. That's great. Send it to the back, and boom, there we go. Got a bit of a problem though. All of a sudden I've noticed that the banner isn't standing out, so I'm going to grab the banner, and for the line what we'll do is shape outline, and we'll use that light color that we were working with before, and I think that needs to be a little bit more weighty so you can actually, it stands out and you can see it. Okay, well that's actually looking pretty good now. So if I go into grid lines and I just get rid of my grid lines so I can see, hey, that's looking pretty darn slick. Now there's this really neat thing where you can actually save this. So you can go select everything and go right click, save as picture. And I'm going to save this picture on my desktop, and I'm going to call this new school logo. There we go, with background. If I can spell correctly, background. There we go. And if I go to here, new school logo with background, hey, there's my image. It's looking pretty slick. We can use that on our website. But what if I don't want to have the background there? That's pretty easy. I'm just going to go copy and paste that entire slide. And now I'm going to kill off the background, and I'll go again, select everything, right click, save as picture. Then we'll go this new school logo without background. So now I can have a look at that, and it interprets as being black on this particular viewer, but there's a transparency around the logo, and it's really neat. It's really crisp and clean. It's pretty much everything that you want. Okay guys, well I hope that was really helpful. If you would like to have a copy of this PowerPoint file, because I know that plenty of people will ask, there is a link to my blog which will include the PowerPoint file, and you can find that link in the description below. If you think this was helpful and you think I've earned it, why don't you give me a subscribe? That would be really helpful. My name's Phillip Wong. I often go by Tetracarbon on the web. Thank you very much for watching, and there's only one last thing to say, and that is happy studies, guys.